Skeleton Crew is about to wrap up in just a few hours, but so far it has been reportedly a ratings disaster. Why? Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, if you like Star Wars, if you like life, hit that subscribe button. We talk about it all the time here on the channel. I love Star Wars, lifelong Star Wars fan. I obviously grew up with the original trilogy, grew into the prequel trilogy, and lived through the sequel trilogy. And of course, now what we're getting on Disney Plus with the Mandoverse and beyond. And I mostly, for the most part, I have enjoyed what we've gotten through Star Wars. Has it all been perfect? No, but who cares? I've enjoyed most of it. Sometimes you're a little bit, what's the point of this? But now Skeleton Crew hit about a month ago at the beginning of December. I was, going into it, I was a little bit nervous, like what's going on? And then I came to the realization that there was a lot riding on Skeleton Crew. It had to be good. And I thought this series has been pretty solid going forward. Now, is it a children's show? Yeah, but it's a little bit dark. It really is what they promised it would be. And that is, the Amblin films from the 80s. It feels very Goonies. I mean, they don't even try to hide that it's Goonies for the most part. But it's a little bit dark. It is for kids, but it's a fun adventure with the kids. And I'm like, yeah, it really has at the heart of it what Star Wars has always kind of been about. George Lucas. Now, if you don't know Star Wars, if you think you know Star Wars, but you really don't know Star Wars was a massive hit. And then George Lucas was like, oh no, let's get the toys, the rights for the toys. I want the rights for the toys. And George Lucas was like, hey, toys. So Star Wars has always been about toys, and now with the Disney era, and I think kids for the most part now don't really play with toys. Star Wars has always been about toys, and this show, if they did toys again, I could really see the show flourishing in that aspect of it, but they don't make toys, and when they do, they're like $45, so I don't see the point of it. But anyway, look, so I really feel like this has the heart and soul of what Star Wars is, but the problem, of course, has been that nobody has been watching it. And why? The Nielsen's ratings came out, and let's look this is from the Direct now. I got this on the Direct online. Check this out here. Here are the ratings for the last 7 streaming series. By the way, 7 streaming series is insane. Like when you think about it, we've had 5 movies in the 14 years that Disney has owned Lucasfilm, and 7 streaming series since 2019. Or there's more than that, 8, I believe, since 2019. That's a lot of streaming series right there. So I think that's part of why we're going to see the ratings going down. Is it's just an oversaturation of Star Wars. Star Wars isn't anything special anymore. It's another thing that's on TV. So let's take a look at these from the Direct Man. Mandalorian Season 2 had 1.032 billion minutes streamed. Okay, so first of all, we got to say that this is Mandalorian Season 2. This isn't Season 1. This is Season 2, which is coming off of a very successful, very high-regarded series, right? The first season of Mandalorian was beloved, right? It brought the fandom, like after The Last Jedi, like went like this, and Mandalorian kind of, maybe not all the way, but kind of brought fam together. People loved the first season of Mandalorian, so Season 2 having these numbers, and no shot there. Book of Boba Fett, 389 million minutes, episode length 37 minutes, including credits. What the fuck? Book of Boba Fett, 389 million minutes, 37 minutes, including credits. And Book of Boba Fett, it actually went up. Like the series finale, season, whatever it was up like 36% or something like that. Like it grew. Like the viewership for Boba Fett actually, as much as people didn't seem to enjoy it, it actually grew. Obi-Wan Kenobi was 1.026 billion minutes with 2 episodes. So that's 500, whatever. It should have been, the thing should have been a movie. And I think this speaks to the popularity of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. People were excited for this. I know when Solo was coming up, people were like, we don't want Solo, we want Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then Disney, of course, after the failure that was Solo, Disney balked on this and then eventually revived it as a TV series. And it was what it was. I thought it was okay. It had a lot of really cool lore building moments in it. I think some of it kind of fell flat for me. I think though my main problem is it should have been a movie, and it felt like it was a movie cut up into 6 pieces. Andor was 624 million minutes from the 3 episodes. So now we're dropping, right? I've said this a few times that Andor didn't have the greatest ratings of Star Wars, and people come at me all the time. Like, look, I love Andor. I think it's the best. It's not probably. It is the best looking Star Wars show we've gotten. I really enjoy it, but I've heard people say that they found it boring. A lot of people say it didn't really feel like Star Wars to them. And when you combine those, and it's Andor, a character that just dies in the end. I mean, you know that about Obi-Wan Kenobi as well, but it's just Andor. Like, he's not as beloved as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, he hasn't been around for 40 years like Obi-Wan Kenobi has. So, it's this character, Andor. You know where he's going to end up. You know where it's going. What's the point of this backstory? But I thought the show was phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to season 2. But I don't suspect the ratings for season 2 are going to be very high at all. And this thing costs a boatload of money to make. The Mandalorian season 3, 823 million minutes watched. That is, 200 million less than season 2 of Mando. I think this is where you start to see the decline, right? Like, people were excited for season 3 of Mando, but at the same time, season 2 of Mando wrapped up the story. I've always said that, like, it kind of felt like the Mando and Grogu story kind of ended there. So now we're in season 3 and people aren't rushing to go see it anymore, but we've also had much more Star Wars content, and the special, the event film, the event televised viewing, it was still obviously there. That's a lot of minutes view, obviously, but it wasn't as prominent as it was for season 2 of The Mandalorian. Ahsoka, 829 million minutes for the 2 episodes. I think people were excited for Ahsoka. You don't know what's coming up. She obviously was a spinoff from The Mandalorian show. Rosario Dawson, people thought she was great in the role. And then we had the series, and the series, for the most part, I really enjoyed the series, but it definitely, I mean, the way that it ended, not ending, and not having a guarantee of a second season, obviously now we know we're getting it. That, I think that hurt it a lot as it went on, but people were very excited for the show, and it's showing here. So ratings are kind of stabilizing for Star Wars, but then you have The Acolyte, and The Acolyte comes in with 488 million minutes watched. And that's for 2 episodes, 41 minutes and 36 minutes. And again, The Acolyte was something that I think, for me, when it was announced, I was very excited for The Acolyte. And then when I saw the poster, I was like, oh, that poster's awesome. But I didn't like the trailers that much. I didn't think it looked very good. It felt very television to me. It felt more CW than HBO, let's say, for argument's sake. Like more network TV than like Netflix and streaming. It just didn't have that to it. And then when I watched the show, I felt there are things in the show that I actually enjoyed. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. They should do more of that. But for some reason they didn't. And I found it more frustrating to watch as it got. Every week it got more and more frustrating for me to watch it, because I was like, just tell the damn story. Just Saul, just tell the story. And he kept having excuses why he wouldn't open his mouth and say. And so that was one of the things. It was very frustrating. There were parts of it, like I said, that I thought were phenomenal. I thought the Stranger was a great villain. Thought his mask was cool. I think there was aspects there, but they didn't quite hit home. And then, of course, a month after its release, I think it was a month, maybe 2 months, Disney canceled season 2. Like, we're not doing a season 2. Whether or not it was ever part of the cards or not, I don't know. But they're like, we're not going to do it. And so that bleeds into your Skeleton Crew, which you haven't promoted at this point. Disney hasn't promoted Skeleton Crew at this point in the Acolyte. We're still like, diehard fans like me, we're all knowing that it's coming, but by general audiences, they don't know what's coming. And they didn't start to do marketing for a few weeks after that cancellation even. And it was very minimal. The ads, I thought the marketing toward like the very end was strong, but it was very 80s centric, and they're going for the 80s crowd, which works for someone like me who's in his 40s. That's great. But for a younger audience, I know, like, my niece is 12 and she's obsessed with the 80s, but I haven't showed her any of this, so I can't speak whether or not it impacted her. But I don't know if she has any interest in it. I don't know if the marketing for someone obsessed with the 80s would work in that regard for them. And so I thought it looked good, though. I was happy with all its Skeleton Crew trailers compared to the Acolyte trailers. I was like, oh, this looks good. And I had a belief that it would be strong. And then the first few episodes were great. And for me, I feel like this show gets better as it goes on. I think it's had one episode where I was like, yeah, but it wasn't an episode that I just didn't like. It was one that I said, meh, maybe this could be a movie. And I think that's one of the big problems that they're having. So I think just like everyone's blaming the Acolyte for this, and I think the Acolyte 100% hurt Skeleton Crew, the fact that people didn't like it. And don't forget, the Acolyte ratings were on a decline, right? They kind of went up, and then episode 3 hit, and then it just stopped. People just stopped watching it. Where Skeleton Crew, it's starting low. I think it's kind of hovering, but it's going up a little bit. And I think word of mouth is really going to push this one home. I think people are going to wait to binge it, though. I think people have lost faith in Star Wars a lot, and they're like, I don't want to watch this weekly. It's not a weekly thing anymore for them, and I think they're going to just wait and they're going to binge it. And that's why I think turning the Mando and Grogu season, or Mandalorian season 4 into the movie, whether or not it's a good movie, I don't know, but I think that was the right call. I think audiences, I think fans and general audiences are kind of tired of the Star Wars streaming model. They're tired of waiting a week to get part of a story. It's just give us a movie. Star Wars will always function as a movie. I think George Lucas would have flourished as a TV. Like, I think he would have loved this, but they haven't quite, I don't think they figured it out yet. I think Mandalorian season 1 and 2 and Andor figured out. And I think Skeleton Crew is kind of there, but Skeleton Crew is too late. And I think people have lost a lot of faith in it, or in Star Wars, not in it. But I do think the word of mouth from Skeleton Crew is going to improve. And I think you'll see as ratings come out, you'll see more and more. And it was actually last week, it was the #1 rated show on Disney Plus. Skeleton Crew was #1 on Disney Plus, and that's a big deal. In May, there was articles coming out, reports coming out that Disney really relied on the success of Star Wars on Disney Plus for them. And also, while doing the research for this video, I saw articles about X-Men 97 and how it was a failure and viewership wasn't as high as they wanted for X-Men 97. And of course, with X-Men 97, we're getting a second season. So what does that mean for Skeleton Crew? Well, they never planned on multiple seasons for Skeleton Crew, but there were thoughts there, and Disney was like, if it's a hit, we're going to do more, because obviously, you want to feed the machine. And they did say that if there is a second season, they would do a time jump because kids are going to age and whatnot. So I think it makes sense. But so I would say that while the ratings aren't very good, this isn't something to panic about. And if you're a Star Wars fan and if you're a fan of Skeleton Crew, just keep watching it. They're not going to cancel it because it's ending now. But I think it's been a great show. And the one thing that I love is I love that they have the mystery box elements of it, like who is Jude Law, what is that at, and they sprinkle it in, but you never feel like they are shying away from giving you the answer, and you never feel like they don't know the answer. You feel like we are getting the answer, and I can't wait to find out what that answer is. I'll have a review for it after tonight or later tomorrow morning, whatever it is, for the finale of Skeleton Crew, and giving you my thoughts. I really hope they stick to landing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, may the force of others be with you.